On February 10th, 2008, suicide came to my door when my husband of 16 years of marriage committed suicide. Suicide is real and prevalent in our communities, our churches, our families, and the permanent end result is here. Over 44,000 people died from suicide in 2020, which is a decrease from the 47,000 that died in 2019. However, there was a rise in people of color who died from suicide in 2020. On Friday, September 17th at 6:30 p.m., join us as we discuss in our Faith Table Talks, Suicide, Prevention, and Awareness with Dr. Kelli Harris.
To bypass anger. A lot of times in church, we try to bypass anger, go straight to forgiveness. It's invalid and it does not work. So when you don't honor your anger, it turns inward, it's heavy. That's the depression. But the anger helps me really and truly to create change. The next emotion is fear. And I know we say that God has not given us the spirit of fear, and I believe that God probably didn't give it to me, but there are times I have it. So I have to own it. So fear, if I own it, the gift of it becomes wisdom and faith. The wisdom tells me, be careful, take your time, ask questions if you need to. So my fear will invoke my wisdom. And the other gift of fear is faith. And faith looks like this. There were times I was fearful before. The same way I got through that, I can also get through this. That is increasing my faith. I begin to look at the track record that I've been fearful for and got through that, but I have to own the fear. If we deny fear, it manifests itself as anxiety. Anxiety is, I just don't want you to know that I'm afraid. Anxiety is, I'm just trying to cover it, because if you know that I'm afraid, you might judge me. Next emotion, one of my favorites, is shame. Everybody walking this earth has something in their life. If you found out about it, they would be ashamed. Everybody we know, celebrities, teachers, preachers, pastors, has something in their life that if you found out, they would be ashamed. I got things in my life. If y'all found out about it, I would be ashamed. So you're no better than me and I'm no better than you, because we all carry that shame. The gift of shame, if we own it though, becomes humility. Shame puts us all in our place. Shame levels the playing field. If we deny the shame though, it will manifest itself as toxic shame. Shame says, I've done some things that were crappy. Toxic shame says, I'm a piece of crap. See the difference in the two? Yeah, I'm used to people talking back to me, so, because I talk so fast. And two more, you out. After shame, next emotion is guilt. And guilt is very healthy when it's used correctly. Guilt means that I've done something and it's not okay with me. But if I didn't do anything, I don't think I need to plead guilty. The gift of guilt, if we own it, becomes forgiveness and freedom. But if we deny the guilt, it looks like shamelessness. I mean, I do whatever I want to do. I don't apologize. You're going to be all right. But if I own the guilt, the forgiveness and freedom comes as a result of that. And there are times that when we are guilty and we admit it and we ask for forgiveness, what that means is, will you give you back to me for me? That's what forgiveness is. Can we come back in relationship? But I have to own that I did something that I'm not proud of. And the last emotion is glad. Now, there are two ways that we explain glad. And people say sometimes, why is glad last? I'm like, hey, we've been through all these emotions. I guess we're finally glad, right? But these are not in any order. And gladness, I want to make sure that I say this right, because this gets a little confusing. The gift of gladness, actually, I got readers and glasses. The gift of gladness says, I make mistakes. No, I'm sorry. The gift of gladness, basically, give me 1 second. I used to know this stuff. COVID brain is real. I can spit it out just like that, but I have a lag. So the gift of gladness is basically, it doesn't sound glad. It sounds like there's some despair in it, meaning I'm glad we got through that. I'm glad that it's over. You hear the joy in it, but you also hear the grief that it took to get here. Gladness owns the grief that helps us get to the other side. It's the, I'm glad we got through it. But if we don't want gladness, the opposite of that really looks like drugs, sex, and rock and roll. I want to be high all the time. I don't ever want to come to the despair of getting through a tough situation. Does that make sense, y'all?
Yeah.
So I went through those emotions kind of quickly. I think when it comes to suicidality, we live in denial. We don't feel these emotions. And if we can't feel these emotions, we don't know how to get our needs met. And most of the time, people that struggle, I would say, with suicidality, they know that they feel something strong, but they're not sure of what it is that they need. It's up to us to figure out our needs in order to give the people in our life the cheat sheet to show them how to meet the need. Sometimes people don't know what to do for us because we've done a good job of showing, I'm good, I don't need anything. Well, people believe what it is that we show. Sometimes we suffer alone, and if we say, I want to go run and hide, what we really mean is, I wish somebody would come and find me. I think forums like this is important because it gets us in touch with what it is that we feel. Because if I say to any of you, I'm hurt, lonely, sad, angry, the fact that you've been there before, you'll lean into me, not lean out. We think if we tell somebody about an unpleasant emotion, it's like a repellent. Most of the time, if I'm just truthful about it, people will support me in that. Got that? All right, that's my presentation. What y'all got? Just an overview of that. I don't want to keep going. I want to make sure that, any questions for me? I know we're not done. I'm just getting warmed up.
For this is Anissa, for family members who have someone who's battling thoughts of suicide, what advice do you give family members who don't have a degree in mental health counseling, who don't have a degree in knowing how to help a person through something like that? What do you tell the family member who does not have that background and has never had to deal with this before?
I think one of the first things that I would say to a family member is not to ignore what it is that you see. And of course, if you think the lethality is high, I would definitely, call 911. I would call for help. But there's nothing wrong with seeing a family member saying, hey, you look sad, you look down, doesn't seem like you're having a good day. That concerns me, that scares me. What do you need from me right now? One of the worst questions in the world is, what's wrong with you? That's so judging. And most of the time, what's wrong with you, people are gonna shut down. But if I see that somebody is not okay, looks like you're struggling, that makes me sad, that hurts me that you were struggling. If they say, I don't know what I need, I'll say, you have permission not to know. But if you figure it out, I'm in the kitchen. I've addressed it, I've offered, I have to take a step back and see if they will come to be able to meet that, come and get what they need from me. Most of the time, again, family members in their anxiety, you're trying to fix it. That gets overwhelming for the person that's struggling as well. But we have to speak directly to what it is that we see and not dance around it. And there are times you ask the question, are you thinking of killing yourself? I'm scared that you may take your own life. That worries me, that bothers me. When we can drop emotionally and stay in our feelings, people will connect with us in our feelings. As opposed to, well, you don't need to do that. Why are you thinking about that? Look at how blessed you are, those kind of things. At that moment, they're not feeling that. And I can't stand when people are depressed and people say, well, you should just be thankful. Well, how do you know I'm not thankful? I can be thankful and depressed at the same time. Don't come from my gratitude. I can have both at the same time. Actually, gratitude is filled with grief. Nobody can have grief without gratitude. Nobody can have gratitude without grief, let me say that. Gratitude is settling for what we'll never have. My gratitude is rich because of how much I lost. I hold tightly to what I got now because I'm grieving what I lost. The grief and gratitude can coexist. Society says pick one or the other. No, I don't. They're both true. I'm grieving and I'm grateful. But, you know, when people are struggling and they won't tell us, we start shaming them. I don't know what to do for you. You know, I did this, I did that. It's not about that. It's what do you need from me? I'm sorry. My eyesight, y'all. Somebody's oh, okay. She said, Lord, yes. Okay, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
They're agreeing with you. Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned about family members trying to fix it.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that. I'm a fixer.
Mm-hmm.
One of the strong ones in my family, and if I see that you're in need, or you know are down and out, or you're going through something such as, you know, depression or these things, I try to fix it. And you state that that's not helpful for the person who's going through.
You're fixing it is to make you okay. And so we train people to say, oh, I'm fine, I'm good. Amen. Yeah, you encourage me. God is good. You teach me to lie to you. Because I'm working now in my pain to make sure you're all right. And it's not true. And it's well-meaning a lot of times. And I think they're family members. I'm a family member as well. You know, strong people lean on me. I have no problem saying it scares me that you're going through this. Is there anything I can do? I have to drop in my feelings. And most of the time when people hear the feeling words, they can connect. But when and fixers are codependent. We're codependent. And codependency is being addicted to somebody with more problems than me. We think if we can fix them and love them and take care of them, they'll become what we need them to be. Very rarely do they get there. Very rarely do they get there. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying to a family member, this scares me that you're still in this spot. I'm sad that you're still sad over this. What do you need?
Are you still trying to fix it when you're asking them what do they need? Because you
no,
want to give them what they need.
They might need $1 million. I ain't got that. You know, but I did ignore the wounded. You know, they might need, I don't have $1 million. I think what you need is just basic humanity. And our feelings get compromised. You know, I can't do anything without talking about trauma, you know. At the point that we went through some type of wounding, whoever was right there after the wounding determined whether or not these feelings stay jacked up. Most of the time, and let me say in African-American homes, as children, if we were wounded, our parents did maybe 3 things that were not correct. They either ignored it, the wound, if we were hurt. They shamed us to say, get over that, or blamed us and said it was your fault. So immediately, as children, even growing up, we suck in. And those feelings are stuffed and confused because there was no care or compassion after that. That determines whether or not an event becomes trauma or not, the response that you get right after. All we're doing, if we see somebody that's upset, trying to offer, what we're trying to do is not ignore, not blame, and not shame. Now, our ancestors and parents taught us that, hoping to strengthen us, you know, toughen up. They thought they were doing well. But y'all, it messed us up. Because if I was wounded as a child in that household and everybody just ignored and kept going, then I go through life, my wounds don't matter. They don't matter. So there's a lot of stuff I think in our community that we have to unlearn. We have to unlearn. Y'all have to stop me. I'll keep talking now.
Any questions from the guests? I've been running my mouth. Any other questions from the guests, please?
Or put them in a chat box as well if I need to clear up something.
So I got a question.
Mhm.
How do you deal with that as a person? So like you said, we've been taught from our youth to suck it
Yes.
up.
Mhm.
How do you deal with that as a person? How do you move past the hurt? And as a man, we got this thing called pride
Right.
that you don't want to look soft.
Mhm.
And so how do you deal with that as a male or as a person in general to
Mhm.
move past those type of mentalities?
That's a very good question, sir. I think if we go back to as children, we were taught to suck it up. We really have to be honest and honor that there was a time sucking up did work for me. They taught us that it worked for me. Whether, I had tough skin, job, career, got through school, it worked for me. As a man, I decide, you know what, that ain't working no more. As opposed to looking back to say, my mom and dad messed up, that's what they taught me. Try to find some kind of honor in that. Does that make sense what I'm saying, y'all? Like if I'm taught to be kind and serve and do and docile, and at one time it worked. Probably got promoted, knew how to do it. Right now, it's not working. If I look back at it with the contention, that wound remains open. I appreciate my parents for teaching me what they thought was going to help. Now, I can figure out how to do things differently because that doesn't work for me anymore. And I think as men, I found myself saying this a lot. When little girls are given a baby doll, they're taught to be wives and mothers. They're given a baby doll, a kitchen set. They're taught to nurture. They're groomed to nurture, get in touch with their emotions. Well, little boys want to be husbands and fathers. Nobody teaches them about their emotions. So men, they don't know how to deal. They got two modes, mad or shut down. They have the same desire to be husbands and fathers. Nobody taught them to develop emotionally. So how do you deal with that? Settings like this and therapy. I go to therapy. So, it really helps you, sir, really to come up with your own template of how to do, how to navigate life. Did I answer that? Does it make sense? You can't hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you did.
Yeah.
That helps.
I'm not a believer of the people that raised us did the best they could with what they thought they had. Now I can look back also and say there's a part of me that will forever maybe hate a part of them, but I'm not going to throw them all away. The parts I'm not okay with, I was not okay with, but I don't have to get rid of all of it. And that's something that's called parallel process, meaning my 10-year-old self, for example, can forever be mad at the father I had at 10. At 46, though, I look at him a little different. That's what doing the work is.
Miss Kelli, my daughter wrote a book about her childhood trauma, and she suffers from depression, and she's had thoughts of suicide before as well.
Thank you for sharing that.
She's married with children, and in her book, she talks about how she wishes that she would have healed. She shouldn't have gone on into this adult life without healing before she brought on children, before she brought on a husband, before she brought on those type of responsibilities in her life. And so now she feels like that they're suffering, she's suffering because she did not grant herself time to heal before bringing on all of those things. What do you say to young adults or to people who, they've gone on, they've made those choices, that's their life now. What do you say to those who are having to now therefore live in that space with family, with children, with those responsibilities, but have not healed?
I used to teach that sometimes when we say healed, we want things fixed. And these glasses help my eyes. They're not fixed. So there are times with certain traumatic experiences, there's situations and things that can help them, but not fix it and eradicate it. So it's with these emotions I just talked about, feel the strong feelings that come is her getting in touch with what the need is at the point that she's feeling that. If I need support, what does that look like? That's different for everybody. Maybe I just need you to put your hand on my shoulder and say, hang in there. Maybe I just need you to text me every Tuesday and say, I'm thinking about whatever that is. And we'll say, if I have to tell you, I don't want it, be careful. There are times you got to tell people what the need is. I needed glasses. My eyes are not fixed though. Now, there's another, clinician, Cindy, who trained me, and I like her definition of healed, meaning she says that whenever you can talk about the trauma without shame, you'll know that you're healed. But if shame still comes up when I begin to process that traumatic event, there's more work that I need to do. Most of the time, the people that were the perpetrators are hurt or harmed us, that's who needs to carry the shame. But somehow we end up carrying, the shame. And trauma and PTSD always shows up in an intimate relationship. You think you're good until you have a partner, because it begins to trigger, that stuff. I do believe there's some people that may never heal completely. I believe there's some people that may go through life with a mental and emotional limp. Doesn't mean they won't get to where they're going. It might take them a little longer because of the depth, how deeply they've been hurt. Whoever is, in her life, her spouse, it's important that she over communicates what the needs are, understanding what the triggers are. And some of us even underestimate like certain times of the year, those of you that are, friends with me, social media, know about the tragedy my family just suffered. For my whole life, Labor Day has been huge in, my small community. Labor Day is going to be tough for us going forward. So we got to start getting ready in August, if that makes sense. I got to start preparing even then. I know the anniversary of such and such is coming. What am I going to do to care for myself? Most of the time we just suffer through attitude and this and that and don't realize the date on the calendar. So we can prepare for those things, that are coming. And when we're not healed and hurt other people because we're wounded, I think we feel guilty about that. And even when they try to care for us, I think we sabotage it because we're scared they're probably gonna leave us anyway. People are not afraid of being alone, they're afraid of being left. And if I'm scared you might leave me, before you leave me, I'll make you leave me. I'll make it so difficult for you to love me, pushing you away. And I go back again, forums like this, that's what makes this so important, being able to talk through things like that. And not read the minds of other people, I may just make up this story that Jeff is mad at me, or you don't like me. I made that up, now I got an attitude. You don't even know why. I got this whole dialogue going. He doesn't have a clue. But I've made up, he don't like me, so I'm gonna treat him accordingly. As opposed to over communicating, this is what's going on with me right now. And if I communicate that, I can say, I'm scared to say this to you. You might think it's stupid. But when you said this is how it affected me. Give the person a chance to clear it up before we form the narrative and the thought and the emotion and the behavior that we end up regretting. I have a friend that we talk about, I try to live my life that I don't have to repair a lot of relationships. I don't want to have to come back and apologize. Who I should have said that. So on the front end, did you really mean what you said? I'm gonna try that on the front end before we get too far that we have to come back and clean up something. But if we don't talk about, we behave. So whatever thing that's bothering you, that happened to you, that you're not discussing, it is coming out in behavior.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Ms. Harris,
Mhm.
may I ask this question?
Yes, ma'am.
I am a teacher, and we're noticing that lately,
Bless your heart.
a lot of our I know,
Mhm, mhm.
there has been a rise in suicide for our students,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
there has been a rise in suicide even for teachers.
Mhm,
So I'm wondering, because some of us have been talking, and of course we do some suicide training
mhm.
at the beginning of the school year, but it doesn't go in depth with what to look for. What are some warning signs? What are some behaviors that we need to be looking for in order to get students who are displaying them? Because we know we've been taught that
Yeah.
suicide is never, is never side. There's never not a warning. So we've been
Mhm.
taught there's always a warning. So what should we be looking for in these students and in these teachers that maybe we can help them get the help that they need?
I want to first say that even if we look for and find all the warning signs, there are times that we can't stop it. If that's the way somebody chooses to care for themselves. I've been doing this for a while. For some people, not everybody, suicide is an act of self-love. People say, I love myself too much to hurt like this. I don't mean to harm anybody, but it's what they choose to do to care for themselves. But ma'am, I didn't get your name. Teacher, I think you speak directly to, you're saying you want to disappear, you don't want to be here anymore. That scares me, little Johnny. Do you feel like hurting yourself? Have you ever hurt yourself? It really is, and it doesn't matter. I said, I don't care about hurting your feelings or making you uncomfortable. It'll save your life. And I would love to be wrong, but if it's in front of me, I'll speak, directly to it. The signs and behaviors, y'all going through trauma somehow sharpens your gut. There's times when certain people have a gut feeling. They can act on their gut. Let me go ahead and ask. Are you harming yourself? Do you need anything from me right now? And we can also, if we have more resourcing than whoever, meaning emotional resourcing, which I do this a lot as a therapist, y'all, and it's not manipulation. But if I have somebody that's suspect, I don't mind talking about my own pain and despair to see what they'll give me. Like, man, it's been hard for me. It's been so hard for me. I don't know if I'm going or coming. I'll start that on purpose to open the door. Basically say, hey, I'm safe. Definitely don't ever mind leading the conversation with, sure, I see a therapist. I'm trying to normalize to invite you in. I don't know if that helps or not, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not, I think just the authenticity of it, that's what's important. And I'll take a risk. I think we all are a little suicidal. Right now, living on earth is hard. I'm gonna keep it real. Living on earth is hard. Doesn't mean that I'm gonna take my own life. Sometimes I don't want to be here though. I don't need to go to the mental hospital. I go to the mental hospital every day, But at the same time, and I thought about this with kids, especially with me working on child and adolescent unit, and I did a group like this one time. How can people express their despair without being thrown in a mental health hospital? How can I really say I can't take this anymore? And that's the truth. And you don't go and check me in. Because that also teaches you to lie too. And people are smart. I know what not to say, It's how can we give people the wording to express how much pain they're in so that you can witness my pain and honor it without, oh my God, we need to get you some help. We need to do, we need to do this. Like, I think it's figuring out how to have that conversation as well.
I think I agree with you, Ms. Harris, but I think that comes to the part where I don't feel comfortable And so my first thing is to find a resource or to find somewhere for you to go or find somebody better than me to help you.
You just said it to me though, whoever you're talking to, you tell them, I don't feel comfortable saying this. This is going to be so hard for me to say to you. Probably going to be hard for you to hear. I'm scared for you though. When you take this card, when you take this number, that says I did everything I could do within that situation. If I tell you that I am uncomfortable, that I'm nervous about coming to you, most of the time people are going to lean into me. They're going to make it easy for me to say what I need to say. If I say, I don't know how to deal with this. Something not, I'm scared. What are we going to do? Hurting people will respect that, because hurting people, their BS monitor, those tentacles are high. That, they know if you, not real with them. But if I'm coming, I'm scared to say this, I've been wanting to say this to you, they respect that. That's because you're in touch with where you are. And hearts connect. I hate that we have so many relationships or situations that my head is here, my body's here, but my heart is not. Our hearts are so far removed a lot of times because they're wounded, but it's showing up even with my heart. Like, I'm nervous about what I'm getting ready to say to you. I don't know how you're going to take it. You may think I'm all in your business. I'm saying it because I care. They can cuss me out, do whatever. I did what I was supposed to do. I try to live my life so I can lay my head on the pillow at night without leaving anything unsaid.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
My first question is, I have an adult child who deals with bipolar, and he's married and he has kids and all of that and everything. And my question to that is, the onset of this, that when we found out that he was dealing with it, was after we found out as a teenager, he was dealing with depression. And all the while that he was dealing with depression, we only thought, he was maybe overwhelmed with work. He was finishing high school and going to work, and, he was sleeping all the time. We never did put two and two together to equate that being depression. It was his high school teacher who pointed it out to us. So after he was diagnosed with depression, and then later on after becoming an adult, he was diagnosed with bipolar. Is that hereditary? And also my other question to that is, with younger children, is there typically, like, he has children who are 6 and 7 years old, and in younger children, can you pick up on any signs of depression?
I definitely think you can pick up on signs of depression with younger children. I think you can pick up on signs of depression with everybody, especially with the state of the world right now. And sometimes depression is anxiety. Sometimes our anxiety, our thoughts are so, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? The thoughts get to running so fast that they shut us down. And that's where the depression comes. So the anxiety a lot of times can trigger the depression. All this stuff we got to get done, we're supposed to be doing. So that's one part, yes. And regarding bipolar disorder, I do think it can be genetic. I think bipolar is very treatable, though. There are people that live very full lives with bipolar disorder, with medication, therapy, sleep hygiene. Now, it's work, but it's very doable to live a full life with that. The patient, though, is the one that has to. I think being diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I may not get this right, I have to look this up. I think it take that patient about 3 years to come out of denial that, hey, I really do have bipolar. Now that denial is like going off and on and off medication, you know, manic episodes, anger outbursts, you know, because you're trying not to accept this diagnosis. At the point of acceptance, they really do have to take control of their own treatment. You know, and most of the time, you know, the family really follows their lead. In our community, there's so much stigma though. Look at how much we check and joke over that. Like, man, you must be bipolar, that's bipolar stuff. I mean, look at what we're doing. Look at what, I mean, look at what we're doing. And because community and connection is so important, yeah, I'm gonna stay in denial about my bipolar. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So I think if he's on medication, that is really important because, and bipolar disorder, just the juices are just off, you know, not that he did anything wrong. You know, there are times that, you know, we're born with, you know, too much serotonin, not enough serotonin. I know Black people, we don't believe that, but it's true. I mean, it really is true. And I personally believe there's a such thing as trauma-induced bipolar disorder, meaning the trauma is just so, you know, was so much, and you just don't have the wherewithal to process it and make sense of it. But with any kind of diagnosis, you know, anxiety, PTSD, bipolar disorder, we have to scoot over and make room for it. That this is what I have to be careful with, and especially knowing what the cycles are. You know, a big trigger sometimes for people with bipolar is if the sun is shining and the birds are singing and it's nice outside, don't let them have money in their pocket, baby. You know, I mean, the mania, they're up, you know, they can conquer the world, the grandiosity. And then the spiral, you know, that depression piece is them, and most of the time people with, by the time they're diagnosed, family will say, you know what, they were always kind of like that. I did see this, and now that makes sense.
Right.
Now it makes sense. I knew it was something. But, you know, making room for, this is what it is that we have to do. But with him being an adult, it really is following his lead with taking care of himself regarding that. And as far as kids, absolutely. I think as adults, we need to share with our kids what it is that we feel. There's some research that says that when we lie to kids about our feelings, it's child abuse. You know, like my child may see that I'm crying or upset. What's wrong with you, mommy? And I say, nothing. They clearly see there's something going on. And I'm telling them it's nothing. So I'm sending a message to them, then you lie about your feelings then. If I'm hurting or upset, I've taught my kids, and if they see it, Mom, are you okay? No, but I will be. And then I give them something to meet a need. Can you give me a glass of water? I mean, I touch their water, but they want to know, what can I do? Nothing wrong with giving a child a task. Mama, not all right now. I will be. Can you bring my house shoes?
Good stuff. Anybody have any more questions? Anyone? Anybody?
I don't mind some of these notes right here too, though. I can see a little bit better. Really.
So, Ms. Kelly, what would be our takeaway as we wrap up this table talk for this evening? What would be your wrap up notes for us to just take home? This is what you would really have us to know when we are either dealing with someone who has suicidal thoughts, or if we are just trying to prevent it. What are your wrap-up notes that you would just have us, is the one thing we need to know for us to be aware, to try to help prevent, just to be on our P's and Q's? What would that be for us to know?
I think that's a very good question, I think the main thing is for those of you that are listening and on to be honest about what you feel and your stuff. Because if I can practice it and apply it, then I'm probably safer to, you know, help somebody else with it. I get asked this a lot. I think everything I've ever done, every counseling session, every class I've ever taught, my pain is always in the room. I just don't give you my experience. People connect with my pain. I just don't give you my experience. I don't show up without that. So even those of you that are, you know, on the, you know, in this call, it's the next time you have an unpleasant feeling, hurt, anger, sadness, unpleasant feelings will always produce a need. The next time you experience that, you have to identify, what is it that I need right now? Who can meet that need? Do I need a hug? Do I need encouraging word? Do I need to be left alone? And if it's somebody in your life that knows that you're not in a good place, make up something that they can do for you. If I just say, bring me a Coke if you stop by Kroger. I might not touch that Coke, but at least you thought about me. I have to give them how to show up for me. And if I can do that in all of my relationships, I'm modeling that for people. You know, that on days that I'm sad and scared and tired, I know exactly what you mean. I've been there. It's hard to keep putting one foot in front of the other. But when people tell us that they're discouraged, we'll say, oh, but just look at what you got now. God is good. We rush them through. The only reason why I'm rushing you through, because if I let you sit and talk about your pain, I got to get in touch with mine. When I say, oh, but look how good God is, if I push you through, that's me taking care of me, because I can hear all that. Stop all that crying, stop all that. There are times I have to say, I'm getting ready to cry right now. That's gonna make you uncomfortable, you need to go to another room. No, I don't need no tissue. But, you know, just showing up authentically, you know, with where I am, for the people in our life, you know, that we love. And if they do, if it seems like they're suicidal, want to harm themselves, you know, I encourage you, just, this is scaring me what you're doing. If something happened to you, I would be devastated. Now, something we haven't talked about, this is just coming up for me, and this is kids and adults. You also got to watch the people that's always threatening suicide. Yeah, I'm hollering at a minute, I'm gonna kill myself, you know. That's not okay. My response sometimes has been, you don't get to keep doing that to me. If you harm yourself, I would be devastated. I know I cannot stop you. You don't get to keep doing that to me, though. Because that pulls on, that's terroristic behavior. Most of the time, terrorists, you know, they don't strike, they just want you scared. You know, it becomes a power move. And it is pathology, though. It is still pathology. You know, if people say, you know, I'm going to kill myself, now you're paying attention to me. It is something that's unmet, you know, in them. But I think we have to be careful being, I would say, the victims of that, because that's not okay. So next time we're pleasant and getting along, I'm going to say, you know, last week you said you're going to kill, you can't keep doing that to me now. Or I have had some people say that. I had a person do that one time, and I picked up the other phone, fire truck, 911 outside her house. You'll never get to do that to me again. I'm dialing 911 on the other end. And most people that know me know that's just how I'm going to operate anyway. Just my profession. You don't get to threaten me with that, or you act like, you know, you're going to. And I know you didn't ask that, but I think that's something we have to be careful of too, because people, they weaponize that, you know, and that's not okay to do that. It's just not okay to do that.
Well, I thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Ms. Harris, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your expertise and knowledge and sharing with us. I want to thank all of the guests that are on the call as well for joining us tonight. I see my coworker, Lisa Madden, is on the call. I have some family members on the call as well as the congregation, the Northwest Church. And so we thank all of you guys for being with us tonight. I just want you guys to send Miss Harris some emojis and appreciating her talk. Ms. Harris, one more thing before you go. What resources, do you have resources that if a family member is going through something, what would, and we've talked to that family member and we feel that they really need some professional help.
Yeah.
What would we need to do at that time?
If they are an adult, you can't force them, y'all. You can't force them. Forcing them is to make you happy. And when they come into treatment, just because you sent me into treatment, what y'all think gonna happen? You know, it really is, and there are some resources, you know, I would say, therapy and the crisis hotline, you know, Lakeside where I am, I think it is strongly encouraging and urging, and the scary thing we don't want to think about is that if they don't get help, prepare myself for the worst. And, you know, only reason why we want them to go ahead and go is so we don't experience that. But whenever it's forced and they're not willing, that's just a Band-Aid. But I can stay in touch with the sadness of, there's so many resources, son or daughter. What do you need from me? You know, it really is just, and Jeff has been my intern this semester, and we have been inundated with calls from parents about their adult children. My daughter needs to see you. My son needs to see you. They need to get in. We ain't heard from the son or daughter. So it's like, Mama, can you come see me? I need you to come and see me. In my outpatient office, there was a sign that says, I'm in therapy to learn how to deal with the people in my life that need therapy. So I don't go to therapy to fix my kid. I can go to learn how to deal with my child that won't necessarily go. And even if it's telling a family member, because you won't go, then I have to go. Because I can't deal with this anxiety, the fear, the hurt. I don't know how to deal with this. That's me being honest and modeling that for them. It's work. It's not and I could give you all those 1-800 numbers. That wouldn't be authentic. I'm just gonna keep it real, and I ain't got time, you know. And I'm not shaming resources though. You get. I'm really not shaming resources, but I know how it is to want to urge somebody, you know, to. And the flip side of my own life, I remember my son was 16 and told me, Mama, I need to go. I need help. That messed with me because I'm good as a therapist. What you mean you need to go? Not denial. But I had to say, you know what? If he's going to say this to me, I got to move my pride out. We had to go. That was one of the hardest things I had to do. Leave my child. It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy at all.
Yeah. Well, I thank you. I thank you for everything that you've given us tonight. I hope that something that you have said will help the members and the attendants that are on the call tonight. And we just thank you. God bless.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you.
And everything that you do. We appreciate you. I want to thank my pastor, Brother Tredanius Beer, for allowing this vision to be at our church, to be able to have this forum. For us to be able to have a platform where we can talk about these things openly and ask questions and get all of the information that we need. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the Northwest Church. And we'll see you guys soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. Thank you.